So welcome everybody to another episode of The Reluctant Leader. And I am the Reluctant Leader, Gajinder Bogle, and I am joined today by Charlotte Hockley. And I am so excited for this conversation. And I was trying not to talk to Charlotte while I was booking this because I'm like, there's so much I want to talk to you about, but I really wanted to save it for this conversation. So before we actually start our conversation, Charlotte, would you please introduce yourself to all of our listeners?
Yeah, of course. I'm so excited to be here as well. Thank you so much. So, hi there, I'm Charlotte. I'm a leadership and transformational coach. So I work with working mums in leadership. I started my company OptiMUM about 5 months ago. So I'm still relatively new into my leadership entrepreneurial journey. I spent the last 20 years in corporate. From my whole background is in medical insurance, international medical insurance. So it's taken me from the UK to Hong Kong, and I'm now in Dubai. I've been in Dubai for about 10 years. I met my husband here. I've got a little boy, a dog and a cat. So yeah, very, very set up here in Dubai. Yeah, I think that's me.
Lovely. And do you know what? I was wondering, I was like, we are in the midst of winter here in the UK. So we're all in like jumpers and puffer coats. And I'm like so jealous. You're with your beautiful tan and your like strappy tops. How hot is it in Dubai right now?
Do you know it's not bad? I think it's only about 35 degrees. So it's quite nice. It's not bad. The summers can be tough, like
Yeah, I've
48
heard about those.
plus. Yeah.
Oh, that's quite a lot.
It's the humidity that kind of gets you as well. But now we've come into the perfect weather from now until maybe April time. It's just wonderful.
Oh, lovely. Well, while we freeze here, I've got my heating on to about 35. So hopefully I'll be at Dubai temperature very soon. But Charlotte, one of the reasons why I was so excited about this conversation is because the reason why I'm such a reluctant leader and the reason why I kind of was forced to start my own business was because after I became a mum, I was pushed out of corporate. I felt I was pushed out. I felt I didn't have the support. So my kids are now 9 and 7, but when they were born, I did not have that leadership support to support me when I went back after maternity leave into my leadership role. So I'm so excited to hear about your journey and how you actually support women to do that. Because actually, if I had that support, would I be here now doing this? I don't think I would, because my whole life revolved around my corporate career. So I'm really interested to learn about why you actually started your business.
Do you know, that's really interesting because I felt the same as well. So I had my boy, he'll be 5 in January. And like yourself, I've always been career driven, had him later in life. I'm now 40, so had him later in life. Loved my job, threw myself into building my second to last one. I built an insurance company here on the ground, and I loved it. So I did everything from the kind of the startup bits, the marketing, putting the plans together, all of that stuff, selling the products, training clients and brokers here. So doing all of that, even to at one point I dragged my now husband, then boyfriend, to help me put membership packs together on my dining table back then. So I loved doing all of that and building things kind of from the ground. Then I had my son, and over here, the maternity leave is very short. I was fortunate that I took 14 weeks for maternity leave.
That is fortunate.
That's fortunate. Yeah, it's as
Wow.
law or regulation, it's like 45 days. So I was really fortunate. Yeah. And I say this to people in the UK and they're like, oh my gosh, that's
I know.
ridiculous.
And there's me saying, oh my God, look at me, poor me. This is what happened to me. And you're telling me you had 14 weeks. I had a year.
Yeah. But you
Wow.
know, I was of the mindset of, well, I love my job. I'm great at my
Yes.
job. I've got all of these
We're so
relationships.
naive, aren't we, as first-time mums?
Yeah, I know. This is a thing. And I remember I was chatting to some girlfriends at the time, and they were like, oh, it's going to be really hard going back. I said, no, it won't be. I skipped out of here. I was so happy to be back. And don't get me wrong, it was awful, the transition of being there and leaving my son. But I was so excited to get back to what I'd known and what I love doing. And then fast forward a bit, I subsequently left that job and started another job as I was the director of a financial services firm. And through that company, they were a strengths-based organization. But I needed to be in the office kind of 9 to 5, and fit that around picking my son up, dropping him off. I felt I was constantly up and down one of the main highways here, Shakeside Road, just constantly rushing around, either in meetings, not finishing my to-do list, sometimes not even starting my to-do list on some days.
Yeah.
And you've got all of these plates, and there's every day there was just something that I felt I was dropping. And you see on social media, and there's obviously pros and cons to social media. The con for me is seeing these perfect mums, the mums who seem to have it all. They do it all. They do it all.
In one hand, baby in the other hand.
And their hair's perfect. Yeah. Like they are dressed, they're back to their pre-pregnancy size, like all of this stuff. And I was thinking, well, I can do that. Of course I can do all of that. What? And then what was happening? I was only trying to prove things to myself, which obviously then it just all kind of tumbled down. But in my last company, being a strengths-based organization and really high on coaching, we're fortunate that there was in-house coaches. So for our leadership team, and that's kind of how I got into the coaching world and the self-development world. Prior to that, I just kind of do the 9 to 5, you just get on with it, really, don't you? You're on a bit of a hamster wheel. You get on with it, you come home, you do what you need to do at home. Morning comes around and you do it all again. So through kind of my own self-development journey, I certified as a positive psychology coach, which I loved, and learned about strengths. And when I learned about my own strengths and kind of I got my report, and I was like, oh my gosh, like my eyes just opened. I was like, yes, all of these are me. I can see the kind of good side that I would say I'm really good at, and where the weaknesses, or as I perceived them at the time, they were the things I was trying to fix about myself and the way I was doing things, when actually I learned to focus on the strengths, and actually that's where I need to grow myself. So through doing all of this in my own self-development and talking to people, and people don't talk about the things like mum guilt, overwhelm, not being able to put yourself first. They just don't talk about it.
No one talks about it.
This is the thing. So all of that, and as my son was getting older, obviously school, and as I said, I was just rushing around. My husband travels a lot as well, so I'm here on my own. I do have help, but I'm here on my own with him, with my son. And it just kind of got to the point, and I was like, well, if I'm like this, and all of the work I'd put into myself and all of this development completely changed the way I view things and do things for the better. And I thought, well, I can help other people. Let me help other working mums in leadership positions. So those mums who deem themselves, say, to be high performance, whatever that version of high performance means to you, of course. And let me help those mums with those things: overwhelm, mum guilt, lack of self-prioritization, putting yourself first, elevating your leadership skills. And I've kind of, the things that I've learned through positive psychology and the strengths coaching put together, so that it's a nice blend of working on yourself and your own happiness as well as your strengths, but also importantly looking at the community around you, the support network that you've got around you, whether that be, as you said earlier, the leadership within the office. If that had been more what you needed back then, you may still be there. And people, ladies, do want to stay at work. They do want to continue what they're doing, but they just need that element of support to get them to where they want to be.
100%. And I remember it was my dream. It was my dream to get up to a marketing director level. And it was, I just had the corporate dream from when I was in my like early 20s, like even late teens. Like when I was 19, I got my first corporate job and I was just like, this is my dream forever and I'm going to be here forever. So when I found that dream was getting shattered, it was
Mm.
like a real identity crisis for me because I didn't know anything else. And I thought I could move from corporate job to corporate job, but the problems would still be the same. So I needed to come out of corporate entirely. And I want to know, because I've got my own opinions on this, but obviously I'd love for you to share why you think this support is so important for mums in particular in comparison to non-mums.
I think because when you have a child, your priorities change.
Mm.
So when you have a baby, you're not necessarily on the same sort of path that you thought you would be on because your priorities do change. You've got this little baby at home who ultimately they need you.
Yeah.
um, so I think when women are going back, so something that I'm really keen on, and something that I want to launch here first is a return to work mum coaching program for corporates. So having that conversation when, especially because, as I said, the maternity leave here can be really short, depending on who you work for with the regulations. Having that conversation, don't just expect a woman, working mum, to come back to work and just assume that everything is going to be the same, because chances are 99% of the chances it's not going to be. The goalposts are going to have changed. They're going to be wanting to, they might need that flexibility. If they're breastfeeding, they're going to need time to express.
Mm.
And then talking to people go straight back into work, it's like they've never left within a couple of weeks, but then you've still got all of the hormones going through, change of identity, lack of sleep, change of relationship with your partner. There's all of these things that are just not recognized or taken into account. So I genuinely believe if you have someone there to support a mum coming back to work, if she wants to continue and grow her career and be marketing director, she absolutely can, but give her the support to get her there. And it might be that it takes, it could have been, say, 2 years pre-baby. It might be 5 years because she wants that element of flexibility. But as a company, just providing that support for her will be growth for her, but also for companies as well.
100%. And there's a certain skill set that a mother has. Right? There is a certain skill set. And actually, if corporates don't provide the support that you provide, mothers, they could be losing a very vital part of their workforce that could actually be damaging to their companies, right?
100%. If you look at, say, employee retention, and if you look at the cost versus retaining a really good employee versus employing another employee because you haven't provided the support, the cost to the company is huge.
Wow.
It's massive, not only from a financial aspect, but looking at what is it? But providing leadership training for people who are coming through the ranks. So there's a bigger picture to look at with providing what should be, to me, just that bit of support, just to make sure people are comfortable in where they are, and just also making sure everyone's aligned. Because it could be like yourself and I, we went back and decided, you know what, this at this moment in time, this isn't for us. We're going to start our own companies. I certainly want the freedom to be able to run around and make sure I'm there for Elliot, and basically schedule my clients and my work around my family life, and just providing that opportunity for people coming back to work is just, for a company is fantastic.
Oh, amazing. I think it's so, so important what you're doing. And, like I said, if there was enough of you doing what you're doing when I was, going through this, I definitely would have had a very different journey. Maybe it's a bonus that you weren't around, because then, you know, I wouldn't be doing this now.
Absolutely.
It all works out. It all works out. So then, Charlotte, tell me a little bit more about your business journey. How has it been setting up business in Dubai? So in another country, what is that like?
Do you know, it was easier than I thought it was going to be. There can always be kind of hoops that you need to jump through that make things slightly more difficult. But here, to actually be an entrepreneur has been relatively easy in terms of legalities. So I got on my trade license. I set my company up back in June. And then I left my corporate job, I think it was beginning of July. And I remember it was the last day of the school holidays. So the first Monday was the first day of the summer holidays. And I woke up and I was all enthusiastic, got in my car and I started driving and I was like, oh my gosh, where am I going? Where am I going to go? There's some traffic lights at the end of our road. And I was like, I genuinely don't know where I'm going. And I ended up in Starbucks. So I was like, you can never go wrong in Starbucks, can you? So
you'll always find your way. You'll always find your way if you just go into Starbucks.
But I go in there and yeah, and it was not having kind of someone telling you what you should be doing or having that idea of where you should be. It was quite a challenge. And one of the biggest things I learned is that I need to be around people. My energy, so being on my own 24/7 does not light me up. It completely depletes my energy. And it took me a couple of weeks to realize that as I'm sat here and I'm doing my social media and I'm setting up my systems, I was like, oh my gosh, I've not really had any contact with someone outside of my house or in the supermarket for a couple of weeks. And I realized I need that contact. So the awareness of that, I now have changed my week. So I'm at either a networking or a co-working space 3 or 4 times a week. I've actually been somewhere this morning, so I've got loads of energy, feed off of that energy. So that's been a bit of an awareness or a learning for me. In terms of I guess I've really enjoyed going back to the startup phase and wearing all of these different hats. Kind of one day I'm having to do social, the next day I'm doing interviews, the next day I'm doing networking. So I love the variety of my day and I thrive off of the variety. So yeah, it's been a journey, but I'm absolutely loving it.
Amazing. And, you know, you are in the early baby stages, new blood of entrepreneurship. And I guess one of the kind of modules as well, or one of the teachings of positive psychology is around belonging, right? That we've all got that sense of belonging, that we want to belong somewhere. And that's why lots of people thrive in workplaces, because they've got that sense of belonging and that sense of community. Now, when you throw in lockdown and you throw in entrepreneurship, you know, there's a lot of loneliness that can actually take place. And I think you've identified that and you've done something about it. Is there anything that you would advise anyone who is in their early stages, and if they feel a little bit of that loneliness and that lack of belonging for anywhere, what that they could do to help them gain that sense of belonging and community again?
So the first thing I would say is recognize it and appreciate yourself. Pat on the back for recognizing it. That's the first and foremost. The best thing I found, and I'm not sure what it's like in the UK, here we have a lot of networking groups or membership groups, ranging from mum groups, entrepreneurial groups, women in leadership groups. So there's various kind of memberships that we have here that have been a godsend. So this morning I was at one of the women in leadership events. Next week I'm at another mum event. So what I would say is don't jump into everything. I did jump into a lot of things once I realized
the right spaces as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise it can get very costly and it can absorb your time, to be honest. But definitely look around, see what is out there, what resonates with you, see if you can just go and attend 1 or 2 events or go along to a co-working morning. And if it's not for you, that's absolutely fine. You don't owe anyone an explanation. You just don't go back. So don't put so much pressure on yourself, I think, is another thing. Yeah.
Yeah, no, amazing. And I think, the best place to start is your laptop. You can always start with your laptop, do some research on what is around locally. There's loads of Facebook groups as well with lots of stuff going on. And I think that could probably be applicable for any country that you're in, that there's so much going on.
Absolutely. And I've met quite a few, what I would call, I'm not a massive fan of the term business besties, but I've got groups now. So I've got a WhatsApp group with some really good friends that I've met through other coaches. So we're always chatting, always catching up, and just on those
I
days
think we're in a WhatsApp group together as
we
well.
certainly are. Yes, we are. Yeah. And it's for those days where because there's so many ups and downs as an entrepreneur. Not every day you are bouncing out of bed, absolutely raring to go. So sometimes you just need someone, and as you said, through the laptop, through the phone, just there to say, like, do you know what? I'm having a bit of a rough day. I don't need anything per se, but I just need to know that someone is there. And I'm on a couple of other kind of membership groups, online membership groups. And I actually had a call, someone else on this group. We're all relatively new in our journeys. So that's been really nice. We had a first call, accountability group, we've called it, last week. 3 other ladies, all in the same position, roughly the same position. And again, it's just nice to have those conversations. And we're talking about, what are your goals between now and the end of the year? Where are you at? Where can we support you? So just having that there, whether it is face-to-face or through the screen, it just makes such a difference, especially if you're new on your journey.
Amazing. That's so good to know. And, you did mention ups and downs. So can we just explore what your entrepreneurial ups and downs have looked like over the last few months?
Yeah, sure. So my ups, definitely the freedom. I'm loving my son has to be at school for 7:30 in the morning. So I am still up at 5. That hasn't changed because I need to get everything ready. But just having the freedom to drop him. My mum came over for a couple of weeks. So we spent 1 week. I did some work in the morning, but we basically spent each day at a pool, just catching some sun and just spending some quality time together. Whereas if I was still working in corporate, that would have been possible, taking annual leave, but constantly would have been checking my phone, and just, you're tired, aren't you, to a degree. So that's been wonderful. Having the ups of designing my week, how I want them to look. So schools here finish at 11:40 on a Friday. So yep, every Friday, the whole of the UAE finishes at 11:40. So I don't work Friday afternoons. So I pick my son up, he has football training, and then I spend the afternoon with him, normally at the beach, or we go swimming. So that has been wonderful. The downs, I think sometimes doing the bits that don't light me up, that I know that need to be done. So for me, I find social media a struggle sometimes.
Yeah, we could start up a whole conversation.
But it's all about knowing what needs to be done. And what I've found really helps is batching my time. So I know on a Monday morning, that's when I do all of my content creation for the week. So I know that it's done. And then I'm not, because one of the things I found in the beginning was trying to do kind of various different bits each day. That doesn't work for me. I need, Monday is content creation. Exactly. Wednesdays is financial. So I'll look at all of that kind of stuff. Thursdays, I'll look at systems and, like various things, but they're all together, having that structure, meaning that I'm not running from pillar to post, kind of not knowing what's going on.
That is, do you know what? That is a really, really good way of doing it, actually. And I think we take some things away from our corporate roles, isn't it? Because they're very structured like that. And sometimes when we're left to our own devices, it's like a free for all, and that throws us a little bit. So bringing back a bit of that structure and that control can help you as well, isn't it? Help turn things around a little bit.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, definitely. And when you go from, as you said, like having all of that structure to kind of not nothing, but you've got all of these bits to do,
but
and
no real deadline.
yeah, and you're like, well, where do I start? Like, what do I touch first? What's going to move things forward for me? And I was chatting to various entrepreneurs in like various stages of their business, and there are some people who have been going for, say, for 7-8 years, who have a very different setup, and they maybe start work at 11, they only work 3 days a week. So one of the other things I would say as part of these ups and downs is not comparing yourself to other people's journeys, because I found when I had started, I was like, oh my gosh, well, X, Y, and Z, they're doing all of this, and I should be there. And actually, it's concentrating on your own journey and doing things at your own pace, because otherwise you can get in a cycle of just kind of not knowing which way is up and putting so much pressure on yourself.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, you know, one of the most refreshing things for me has been I'm watching you, listening to you, and I'm like, my opinion would have been, she's all right, she's in Dubai. But it's actually quite refreshing to know it doesn't matter where you are in the world, that our challenges are all the same. We've all still got that one busy road that we've got to get down to pick up our kids
Yeah.
from school, where we sit in, and it's all that dead time. And it's just really refreshing to know that no matter where you are in the world, we can support each other, because our challenges are all exactly the same. And has being in Dubai affected you doing business, or has it, you know, how has it been? How has that journey been? Are you finding you're getting more clients from Dubai, or are you worldwide? What does that kind of look like for you?
So for me, majority of my clients are in Dubai.
Mm.
And that's from a bit from social, but more from being out and about and talking to people at networking events, obviously specifically the mum events.
Yeah.
And it's been amazing, like talking about what I do. And everyone I speak to says, oh my gosh, that is so needed. That's exactly, as you said, that is
Like what I
exactly
said.
what, yeah, 100%. But yeah, as in terms of kind of, I would love to have clients worldwide and be able to help clients worldwide. Definitely.
And I think one of the most amazing things is, like, I always say, one of the best things to ever happen to some business owners is lockdown, and the fact that everything went online, because it actually makes it so easy to do business now wherever you are in the world with whoever you want to in the world.
It does. And you see that there's a term, what is it, digital nomad now. People are
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of, they're working from anywhere. And I know
Yeah.
companies here, they give some staff like a month off so they can have 4 to 6 weeks working in their home country.
Wow,
And
really?
yeah, which
That's
is
quite amazing.
it's incredible. Pre-COVID, pre-lockdown, obviously that would not have entered anybody's head.
Mm.
So the fact that companies are doing that, and us as entrepreneurs can work from anywhere is amazing. And that's another reason that I wanted to set up on my own, is to be able to travel. So when we have school holidays, taking the opportunity to go and see things, make memories, create memories with my family, and just building this life of freedom. That's literally freedom.
100%. And we're talking a lot about entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs having this journey, but you support people with another way of life, which is sticking to the corporate journey.
Mm-hmm.
So I do want to explore that a little bit. So obviously we've told everybody how great it is being an entrepreneur and having freedom, but there entrepreneurship isn't for everybody, and
Mm-hmm.
it isn't the only way to hit your goals. So your freedom goals, whatever your goals are, it isn't the only way. And sometimes, because we talk so much about being a business owner and a CEO, everyone thinks that is the holy grail. But
Mm-hmm.
I would love to hear how you support people to achieve the same goals, but
Mm-hmm.
kind of staying in the corporate world.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of the kind of things that you support your clients with, because there's 3 areas, isn't there, that you particularly focus on with your clients?
Yeah, so my company is called OptiMUM. And
Love it. I love it. Absolutely love it.
And I work with my clients on, my program is called Overwhelm to OptiMUM. So your OptiMUM life, and it's a bit like high performance. Like, what is high performance? What is your optimum life? Your optimum life is whatever that means to you. So as I said, I certified as a positive psychology coach. So my program is built around happiness, strength, and connection. So within that, I work with women on their leadership skills as well. I'm a massive advocate for people who are working in corporates, working in companies, and want to progress within that company. Positive company culture is key. Team engagement is key. But all of that starts with self. So if you're a leader within a company, you need to do the inner work as well. And that will have that ripple effect, not only at home, but also within your company, within your team. One of the things that I found when I was a leader was a lot of companies have this like end of year appraisal, as an example, or monthly one-to-ones.
We used to have a PDP, it was called for us.
Yeah, there we go. PDP. I can't remember what was that PDP.
You're taking me back 5 or 6 years. I can't remember.
It'll come to me. But they're normal, or they used to be very focused on the negative. Have you done this? No. Why haven't you done it? What do we need to do for you to achieve? Whereas actually, if you as a leader are invested in yourself and having that coaching, and I've invested an awful lot of time and money in myself and my own coaches and mentors, that then you can then have the coaching conversations with your own teams within your company that grow the teams, increases the team engagement, increases revenue. You've got happier teams, more engaged teams. They're doing what they love. I think once you're aware of what lights you up and what makes you happy, you can then see with those around you, okay, is Bob in the office next to me, is he doing what lights him up? Okay, what can we do? Bob, what do you need to take you from A to B? So with my program, looking at how to elevate your leadership skills, looking at your strengths, and I do also with the Gallup, my Gallup Global Strengths, team exercises and team coaching as well. So it's all about bringing people together, and you don't need a well-rounded person. You want to have a well-rounded team so that everyone is working together to move towards company goals, your own goals, but everyone moving in that right direction.
Do you know what? I'm really glad you said these things, because sometimes and I thought when I start my business, all my problems were going to be solved. I thought all my dreams were going to come true and all my problems were going to be solved, because I felt the corporate world was the problem, but actually it was the inner work that I needed to do in me that was going to help me in any situation that I was in. And am I right in saying that once you become a mum, your world gets thrown upside down?
Mm-hmm.
So obviously lots of stuff comes up for you. So you actually go back into your corporate world as a different person. So you've got to get to know yourself again, don't you? And you've got to get to know all of these things that you actually support people with.
Absolutely. It's a bit of, when I went back, I kind of thought it was a bit of an identity crisis, to be honest. Because
exactly.
I thought, and I thought going back to work so soon, well, I shouldn't want to go back to work. Society tells me I should want to be at home with my son and be here, and everything should kind of revolve around him, which it does. But also as a person, as your own person, you need to look at what you want to be doing. Again, it comes back to what lights you up, what is in alignment with your goals and where you want to be. And then if you also throw into there like relationships, so I think relationships changed massively, whether that's with your
romantic
husband, romantic relationships, whether that's you're the first person in your circle of friends to have a baby, and they don't quite understand the changes and
You
what
can't
you
go out
do.
as much as you used to.
There is so much to kind of contend with, and when you're trying to do it all on your own, it's really hard
It's
to
so hard to see the wood from the trees, right?
100%, and then to try and pull yourself out. But certainly the inner work and the ripple effect that has across all aspects of your life, for me, is key. It all starts with self, and that self-awareness.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And then if you are going through that identity crisis and you think the answer is, let me just go and start a business, you're actually starting a business from that identity crisis,
Yeah, absolutely.
right? Which is
Absolutely.
going to have its own challenges that are going to come up.
Yeah. Do you know, it's interesting where I was this morning, someone said kind of the same thing, and she said she was going from corporate to corporate to corporate. She was
Yeah.
changing her job, believing that the
The
company was
job
the
was the
problem.
problem.
Yeah, and it wasn't.
Mhm.
She said once she realized that and she started working on herself, everything changed.
Yeah.
Absolutely everything changed for her.
Yeah. And the same thing happened to me. So I blamed my ex-boss for years. Like I held on to that story for years. I was in victim mode for years that this boss treated me this way and I had to leave my incredible job and start my business. Poor me.
Yeah.
And once I started to do the work, I was like, oh my God, do you know what? And I actually said thank you to him. And I actually thanked him for everything that he'd done, because all he'd done was he showed me what I needed to work on. He showed me exactly what I needed to work on on myself to find myself again, and then build my life around that new identity that I just found. So
Yeah.
100% that work is so, so important.
And I bet when you said thank you, this whole weight lifted. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. It completely lifted. All these blocks were cleared. And it was like, it was literally like a movie. Like I could see the light again. It was just really, really amazing. So, Charlotte, what would an ideal world look like for you? So, in your world, what would that look like? If you could wave a magic wand
Mhm.
and change whatever it is you wanted to change, what would that be?
I think it would be for women to stop putting so much pressure on themselves. I think for companies and individuals to have the means and the want, of course, the means and the want are both key, to be able to invest in themselves, to see what doors can open for them, how the world can change for them once they've been able to work with someone and really, as you've just mentioned, blocks, remove those blocks, remove the perceptions and the pressure that they put on themselves. Having that support for return to work mums is gold for me.
Yeah.
That is the thing. I genuinely believe if that support is there, that is going to, as I said, help businesses move forward, help the individuals move forward, and just make the world a happier place. I know happy is a very fluffy word, but it genuinely
Oh, underrated though, isn't it?
no, exactly. It's just about it's happiness. And I
Mhm.
always say to people as well, happiness also starts within. So have that awareness, look at what you want to be doing. If it's in the corporate world, amazing. Look at what you support you need there. If it's as an entrepreneur, have a look there. But definitely have a community of people around you, whether that be women or men or both, whatever suits you. But having the support networks around for people, and especially when we mentioned loneliness and COVID, just check in with people. I like to check in with
Mm.
friends, check in with family. Just make sure if you've not spoken to someone for a little while. I used to be terrible, and sometimes I still am, so I'm not going to completely say I'm perfect. But just check in with people, and I might say, oh my gosh, I've been thinking about you for weeks and I've not done anything. Just quickly pick up the phone, drop a quick voice
Make
note.
that
Just
call,
check
right?
in
Yeah, just do
constantly.
it.
Yeah,
Wow,
Absolutely.
do you know what? That's really, really powerful. And, you know, if anyone doesn't take anything else away today, just take that one thing, just
Yeah.
make that call and do that check-in. And, you know, one of the things that I would like to change, and I think this is, and I've realized one of the reasons why I'm launching a series like this is we get to also keep it real in conversations like this. So obviously people see the filter of social media.
Yeah.
And like we said at the beginning of this conversation, they see this perfect world on social media. They see these perfect women looking beautifully, you know, manicured and everything, beautifully presented with 3 kids in their arms, as well as their laptop while they're doing their work. And that's just not reality. And by sharing more of these conversations, we can actually keep things really, really real for people so they stop putting that much pressure on themselves.
Absolutely. And if you've got that, that will start off the world being a happier place
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah. And if you don't do that inner work, you could go from place to place to place to place, and you'll never find what you're seeking because it's all inside.
Absolutely.
And that's why it's
Absolutely.
so important.
It's key. Absolutely.
Amazing. Charlotte, thank you so, so much. I've absolutely loved our conversation. And I really hope it really helps some people out there, whether they want to start a business or actually go back to work and get the
Mhm.
right support that they need to actually go back to work. And how can people connect with you, contact you? What's the best way? I've popped some contact details below.
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn as well, Charlotte Hockley. So I am there. Instagram, go and check out my website or drop me an email. I'm will speak to anybody, anyone wants support, tips, etc. Please reach out. I always say my inbox is always open. So if you're sat somewhere and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I just need to speak to someone, I'm having a down day, reach out to me, drop me a DM, LinkedIn, whatever it may be. I'm literally just at the end of some form of social media.
Just literally one button away,
Yeah.
absolutely one button away. Well, Charlotte, thank you so, so much. I really, really appreciate your time, really appreciate you talking to me, and I hope it has helped any of our listeners out there today. So thank you very much for joining us, and thank you to everybody who's tuned into this conversation.